Hi, I'm Andy, aka Googleman, and these are 5 questions that I've been asked about Google Workspaces.
Look, up in the sky, it's a bird.
It's a plane.
It's googleman.
Hi guys, and welcome back. Let's get straight into it with question number 1 that I've been asked about Google Workspace, and it's relating to Google Classroom. And this teacher wanted to know how we could fix it so that students could work on a template that he had put into an assignment when he was using a Word document in order to do that. And I've talked about this in a previous video, and I will link that above and below for you. However, when you want students to work in a template in an assignment, it's really important that you use a Google Doc, not a Word doc. This is just something to do with the integration between Drive and Docs and Word and things like that. Make sure that when you attach the template to the assignment, it comes as a Google Doc, not a Word doc, because otherwise what will happen is the students will either work in that Word doc and they will be working all in that one document and they'll be overwriting each other, or they will open it up in Google Docs in their Drive. It'll create it as a version for themselves. This means that you as the teacher will not be able to see the work that they are doing, okay? And then they will have to actually upload it in order to hand it in. It's not the end of the world if that happens, but if you're looking to streamline things, make sure that when you are going for create a version for each student in the class, make sure you're using a Google Doc, not a Word document. Question number 2 that I have been asked is, how do you either email a year group or add an entire year group to a Google Classroom group? Now, I know there are people within schools that want to do that, you know, to help with home learning and various other things, or just to contact them en masse and make it really easy. Now, in some schools, of course, you may just have a distribution list, but depending on your position, you might not have access to that list. So the easiest thing to do is to create a group or mailing label in Google Contacts. I don't actually have a video for this yet, but I will do. I will create it for you. What you need to do is go to contacts.google.com. Now, chances are within your school there will be some kind of identifier within the school's email addresses that identify a student within a particular year group. So all of the students that they started in 2018, their email address will start with number 18 or 2018 or something like that. Search for that unique identifier in Google Contacts. You'll then be able to select them all and add them to a new contact label. Like I said, I'll create a video for that, and when I have, I will link that above and below for you. I'll come backwards to do that. What you're then able to do is, if you're emailing en masse, you just need to type the name of that label into your Gmail to line. Okay, and if you're trying to add people to a Google Classroom, what you can actually do is copy and paste the class code or class codes. So if you're adding new classes, I did this during the first lockdown. I created classes for all my individual, say, Year 7 groups, and I sent an email to all of Year 7 with the 4 class codes. That's how many Year 7 classes I had, and said, choose the one that's correct for your particular form group or music group, and then go and add that in Google Classroom. It's really quick and really easy. Question number 3 that I've been asked about using Google Workspace is, how do you work out what work has been submitted and what's been resubmitted in Google Classroom? Now, I first got asked this back in March or April, and back then it was really a little bit tricky. There was no inbuilt way in Google Classroom to do that. They have changed that, however, and there is now a history of what's happened to a student's work. So when you go into Google Classroom and you view the assignment and then you click to view on the student's work, what you have on the right hand side above where like your comment bank is and things like that is you've actually got a see history option. You click on that, you'll see everything that you've done to edit. So if you've added marks or added any comments and things like that, all that will be in that list. It will also tell you when it's been handed in by the student. So if it's been handed in on there more than once, then you'll be able to see that on there. If they've handed it in, you've returned it, and then they've handed it back in again, you'll be able to see that. If they've handed it in, unsubmitted it, and rehanded it in, you'll be able to see that in that list. So you'll be able to see individually, student by student, how they've handed in their work and whether it's the first time, second time, third time, whatever. Question number 4 about Google Workspace is, can you use visualizers or document cameras, depending on what you call them, when you're teaching using Google Meet? And the answer is yes, you can. You have to make sure that your visualizer is connectable to your computer, not just your projector, and that you have the appropriate software and drivers in order to do that. We've got some relatively inexpensive visualizers that have been used here in school. They were about £20 a pop. It's a straight USB. It works with PC PC laptops, Macs, and with Chromebooks. And as long as you have the software open that works with that, so it's appearing on your screen when you're in a Google Meet lesson, you can then share that screen with the class. So if you're using paper or doing something practical, I was asked this by a DT teacher, so he wants to demonstrate things and draw things. You know, he was able to do that through Google Meet using his visualizer. It works really, really well. And question number 5 about Google Workspace isn't strictly about Google Workspace, but it's about teaching using it in a classroom, specifically when you have some students in the room and some students coming in via Google Meet. And it's about how I set up my classroom for kind of effective teaching to take place. I did show this in my video on Google Meet a little while ago. I'll link that video for you, and what I'll also do is put a little picture that kind of shows where everything is in my room when I'm doing that. And I'll kind of put that around me. Basically what I do is I make sure that the camera that I'm using is facing into the classroom. So whether that is me at my desk, okay, looking outwards at the students, I would turn my camera on if I was using a turnable webcam. I've got a HP Chromebook, which I've shown you in previous videos as well. I actually turn the whole computer on and I sit on the other side of my desk. I'm still 2 meters away from anybody that is in the room. Make sure that you do that. It's really, really important. But that means that the camera is pointing to the room, so the people coming in via Google Meet can not just see me, they can see their friends as well. It becomes a little bit more social. It's far, far easier to kind of interact. What I then show varies depending on what I'm actually doing in the lesson. So if I want something displayed to the class that I also want displayed to people in the meeting, I will share my screen with them via Google Meet, and I will have my projector set up as an extended desktop. So what I can then do is I can move whatever I'm presenting onto that desktop extension. So that gets shown on the projector screen, which you can actually, you can see my plain wall behind me on my whiteboard, so that the people in the class can see it, and because I'm presenting my screen, the people in the Google Meet can see it as well. This is equally the same if I'm using a Jamboard maybe. Okay, my Jamboard will be up on here, and then I'll put that into the chat box in Google Meet as well. I'll link the video where I show that up above and below as well. If it's just a case that I'm wanting it to be a conversation, perhaps I've already got some tasks set up from the previous lesson, I want to do a quick starter with them, a quick questioning session, I would actually put the Google Meet up on the board so that it's really, really clear and visual for the people in the room. They can see their friends that aren't necessarily in the room with them. And then it's a nice, easy interaction. It might take a little bit of getting used to because you actually look at the whiteboard, which confuses when you're not looking at the camera on screen, but everybody gets used to it. So that's how I set up my classroom for Google Meet blended learning. Okay, so those are 5 of the questions that I've been asked about Google Workspace. Obviously, I've been asked loads and loads, and most of those have made it into videos on this channel, as you've probably seen. If you have questions that haven't been answered either in a previous video or in this video, please do let me know. Drop a comment below, send me an email, or go to my website. It is linked down below, and use the contact form on there to get in touch with me, so that your question might be something that someone else wants to ask and really needs the answer to, and this will help us to share that information with as many people as possible. Please remember to click subscribe as well, so when those videos are made you get to see them. I'll see you all next time. Until then, stay well, stay safe, Googleman out.